Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. It is Wednesday, the 29th day of January, 2025, Wednesday of the third week of the year, the third week in Ordinary Time. Today, we also celebrate in many cultures Lunar New Year, so a happy Lunar New Year to everybody. What is a Lunar New Year? It's, again, as complicated as trying to find the date of Easter. Generally, again, is it a lunar solar, a lunisolar New Year, or is it a Lunar New Year? It's changed over the centuries and whatever it is. But generally, it is, in case you were wondering, after 12 months of new moons, it is the first new moon to follow after that. So we've had 12 months of new moons, and now we have the first new moon basically yesterday. So Lunar New Year's, remember, a lunar calendar usually moves from evening of one day to the evening of the next day. And for Judaism, there was a time, and it still is in practice, in which measuring time and months and years by the cycles of the moon is something that is observed and is honored. And again, this is where Passover falls again around a new moon feast and things like that. So again, here we have a Lunar New Year. So we've had 3 New Years already. We've had our New Year of our community of faith at the first Sunday of Advent. We had the Civil New Year on January the 1st, and today on the 29th day of January, we have a Lunar New Year. Sometimes it's in February, sometimes it's in January. It's all over the place, just like Easter is. So again, anything involving the moon never ever cycles on a consistent level, which is perhaps why God inspires Judaism to use measurement of time and space by the moon, because as unpredictable as God can be, so can the moon. So there you go. It is also our 4th day of Catholic Schools Week. There is a community mass today. However, I have to go to Gibbons because that's where Bishop is going to be, the high school here in Raleigh, the Catholic high school here in Raleigh, for their celebration. So before I do that, though, our readings for today, again, Hebrews constantly, again, the understanding of Jesus as priest, and again, the tradition of high priesthood in Judaism, the author of Hebrews seeks to clarify. Jesus is the priest whose offering takes away all sins. And it doesn't have to be an offering again and again and again for sin after sin after sin after sin. To notice the distinction of Jesus, to notice who and what Jesus is, and why, again, he is known as the and only high priest, and who should be the and only priest. But again, as history moves on and cultures change or whatever it is, Christianity finds the need for its own priests, again, which muddies the waters fully, and it doesn't really make things much clearer at times. And many times there are priests who think of themselves as Jesus, and that's a little bit complicated because, as Hebrews says, Jesus is one and only and should be kept as such. So the idea, though, is that what do these sins do? Again, what does this sacrifice do? What does this offering do? It causes full forgiveness. It causes that forgiveness that is transformative. It causes that forgiveness that creates anew, and not just a forgiveness so that you go back and do the same things all over again. It is what the sacrament of penance should do. Basically, the sacrament of penance should bring about transformation and not be a laundry, as sometimes as it has come to be known and come to be understood so erroneously and so sadly. It is about transformation. It is about making us begin again and never going back to what we were before. In that way, it kind of tinges on baptism, because baptism should always be that beginning again that allows us not to fall back into those means and those ways in which we had lived before that were not good for us. And so Hebrews begins to point at that and begins to help us try to understand who this Christ is, as one who basically takes away that which burdens us, that which stops us from being whole, that which stops us from being who we are called to be by God in this world. In Mark's Gospel today, we have the first of the great parables, this one of the sower and the seed, and again, how again seed is planted all over the place, and it falls in different places and different on different soils and whatever it is, and it gets either burned up by the sun, it gets choked by thorns, it dies for lack of roots, all these kinds of things like this. But then it falls on good soil, and it bears fruit. And then there's a whole explanation, because the apostles are too stupid to understand, what Jesus is talking about. It doesn't make any sense to them. That's why, again, Jesus asks these guys to become, his first followers. But again, the whole idea is do not be misled. Do not fall into despair. Do not think that the Word of God God is not taking root, even when we see things, that choke us, that burn us up, that don't allow us to take root in whatever it is. When the word of God is not falling as we think that it should fall, that is not ours to worry about. It is God's, and God will allow this seed to fall on that soil in all of us that allows it to bear fruit. Never ever give up is basically what this parable tells us. Never give up believing, never give up trusting in God's power within us. Never give up believing and trusting that it is a God who cares for us, wants what is best for us, and whose plans and whose designs will never be thwarted or undone by our foolishness and our ridiculousness and all those other kinds of things that we think are so absolute that they could get in the way, because they can't, because God is always more powerful and God's love can overpower anything. Blessed day, St. Francis and people of God, a continued blessed Catholic Schools Week, and a blessed Lunar New Year. May the Lord give you his peace.